We're going to go on the news with Jacinta Tynan.
Thanks, Janine. The Prime Minister is digging in amid calls from Labor and the unions to sack Commissioner Dyson Heydon over revelations he was booked to speak at a Liberal Party fundraiser. Tony Abbott insists the former High Court judge is a man of the utmost integrity and the Royal Commission into unions too important to abandon.
Silence, all stand.
Dyson Heydon back in the Commissioner's chair, calmly pushing on with the union's inquiry.
We now have Mr Botsman today instead of Mr Owens.
Meanwhile, across town, Labor ramps up its attack on his integrity.
The fact that Mr Heydon was billed as a guest speaker at a Liberal Party fundraiser is the smoking gun of political bias.
That is the only thing he is now going to be remembered for.
And points out just how lucrative the government-appointed position is.
Government refuses to provide information to the public about how much money the Royal Commissioner is being paid. Know that the council assisting the Royal Commission is receiving $3.3 million.
Amid calls for Commissioner Heydon to resign or be sacked, the Prime Minister is digging in.
He is a man of the utmost integrity.
Declaring the Royal Commission too important to abandon now.
And the Royal Commission is an absolutely necessary way of trying to ensure that we have honest unionism.
While government frontbenchers throw up their hands at another Liberal Party own goal.
Why a barrister in the Liberal Party thought it was a good idea to invite him is beyond me.
Internal divisions over same-sex marriage are also spilling over. One senior minister told Sky News the issue is more dangerous for Tony Abbott than the ETS was for Malcolm Turnbull. The Prime Minister's decision to put the question to the people sometime in the next term has sparked a brawl over whether that should be through a simple yes-no plebiscite or a full referendum.
Obviously that should be done through a plebiscite because there's absolutely no reason to change the Constitution.
There is no legal impediment to the matter being considered in a referendum.
The Chief Law Officer claimed this week a plebiscite is the only way.
I know there are some who are not lawyers who have commented on it, but this is not an area of legal doubt.
Sparking this response from his colleague.
We're used to lawyers going into the entrails of these sorts of things. I'm not interested in sort of a lawyer's picnic discussion on this issue.
David Lipson, Sky News, Canberra.
Queensland Police have released new details about the murder of missing teenager Tiffany Taylor. A 60-year-old man has been charged with her murder as detectives continue to search for her body and say a car may be the key to finding her.
Well, 60-year-old Rodney Williams has been charged with the murder of 16-year-old Tiffany Taylor. The young woman, her family says, was some 20 weeks pregnant when she was reported missing on the 15th of July. Now, police do say that both Tiffany and Mr Williams both had profiles on online dating sites, and that is how they met on the 12th of July. Her family says, and police do say, that she had been offering sexual services for money on those dating websites because with the impending birth of her first child, she really did need that money. Now, on the 12th of July at around lunchtime, police say that Tiffany did take up with Mr Williams in his champagne-coloured Hyundai Excel, and she hasn't been seen since.
So if we can identify other people who may have seen the vehicle or the people in these areas, that'll help us. If we can speak with anybody that's had contact with them over these online dating services, whether it's with Tiffany or Williams, that will also be of could be of significant assistance to us too.
Now, tomorrow police say they will be searching an area around the Brisbane Valley Highway. It is quite a large area, and that is where, unfortunately, they do believe that Tiffany's body may in fact be buried. In the meantime, they are really appealing for anybody who may have seen that 1995 model Hyundai Excel in that champagne colour to please get in contact with Crime Stoppers.
South Australia Police have seized around $4 million worth of drugs as well as money from an Adelaide home. The bust stemmed from a vehicle stop, which is part of an ongoing investigation. A 44-year-old man and his 55-year-old sister have been arrested after police found 3.3 kilograms of ice, 1.1 kilograms of cocaine and more than $65,000 in cash.
Street dealers don't carry $4 million worth of drugs with them. No, we would say that these are people who are very heavily involved in the distribution of these drugs within the local community.
Police are still investigating links to outlaw motorcycle gangs. A second elderly woman has died as a result of a crash involving a minibus carrying senior citizens in Melbourne on Wednesday. The 91-year-old died in the Alfred Hospital last night, taking the death count to 2 after an 88-year-old woman died at the scene. The minibus was on a day trip when it's believed it was hit head-on by a Holden Commodore driven by a 23-year-old accused of being on a disqualified learner's permit. The driver remains in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Residents living near the site of giant explosions in a Chinese port have expressed fears for their safety after reports there could be hundreds of tonnes of dangerous chemicals at the site. According to Beijing News, at least 700 tonnes of sodium cyanide were at the site, and the poisonous chemical had been detected in sewage samples in the area. 50 people have been killed in the blast and more than 700 injured.
This stunning video, taken by a drone, gives an aerial view of the aftermath. The skeleton of burned buildings, shipping containers smoldering, acrid smoke belching into the sky. More than 1,000 firefighters were sent in, but they were stopped as authorities tried to figure out which chemicals were burning and their risk.
Take a look at this building. This is the side facing the blast. Every single window is blown out. The second explosion had the power of more than 20 tons of TNT.
My home is disrupted and no home to go.
Kelly Wong and Nathan Liu didn't have time to collect their belongings.
Can you describe the explosion?
Everybody just ran out, she said. We saw fire in a mushroom cloud. It's terrifying, very terrifying. Victims filled hospitals. Many had wounds from flying glass. The blasts were so powerful they registered as earthquakes and produced fireballs so big they were seen in outer space, pictured as a growing green mass in a sea of white clouds. The explosions burned hundreds of new cars to their shells. Some pictures and posts about the blasts were deleted from social media by Chinese censors as authorities tried to control the narrative.
We're just trying to shoot in front of a hospital. We're not trying to do that much, but as you can see, the police here are trying to stop us from shooting. This is what it's like covering a story here in China.
Police blocked access to the blast site. Residents were not allowed to return home, and local TV stations gave little coverage to the story.